Hello everyone. My name is Juanita Cardona. I'm actually from Colombia, but I'm a US citizen. I did my undergrad at the New School, the Parsons School of Design, in architectural design, which is a BFA in architecture. So it was a year just learning all about design, and then 4 years into 3 years into architecture. Then afterwards, I had always planned to get my master, and I knew I had to get. It would probably be like a 3 year master since I did a BFA. So I. But then when I finished my education at Parsons, I was very interested in sustainability, and we did see a couple of classes, but it wasn't as focused as I wanted it to be. So, when I graduated, I decided to get a Master of Natural Resources and Global Sustainability at Virginia Tech, and I did that in a year while I was getting ready to apply for my master's. Because I wanted my portfolio to be targeted to, I don't know, to have a little bit more of my passions, which was sustainability. And I always thought that knowing about different topics, like it doesn't have to relate completely to sustainability. It could be psychology, like different interests just make you a more well-rounded designer. um so then after I finished my master of sustainability, I worked on my portfolio really hard over the winter break, and then I applied to a bunch of schools, but Berkeley was always one of my top choices. I, I couldn't compare it, like the tuition prices, just the ranking, and their focus in sustainability was very appealing to me. So yeah, I got in, and I actually got into the Mark II. So it was 2 years for me. And I think doing what I did before, that I did my master in something that I was really focused in, helped me, actually um helped me making up time. So I wasn't actually losing time. So people do see the value in you being a well-rounded person, if that makes sense. So then, yeah, I got into the 2 years. So I was coming in with people from had already done their first year MMark, which was very different, since I didn't get that basic foundation, but I got it in my undergrad. And yeah, right now I just finished my first year at Berkeley. I'm about to do my second year at Berkeley, which is a thesis, and I am doing right now I'm in an internship. I'm doing an internship with Harton, that I'm about to finish.
That sounds terrific. So can you be more specific about why Berkeley was the ideal solution for you aside from the fact that it's a very affordable school, of course. Can you be as specific as possible?
Why was it the best option? Well, I remember when we were in the open house, the teachers just explaining how they really see it's the College of Environmental Design, which is a urban design, architecture, interiors, and so they combine all of these fields. It's together. So when you work in architecture, you're also working really close together with like people that are in urban design and in other majors, which was very interesting to me. I wanted to have like an interdisciplinary education.
Okay. So aside from your architectural courses, what other courses have you been taking? Were you taking at Berkeley?
I've been taking apart from my architecture courses,
Yes, aside from the core
uh,
courses of architecture.
the core courses. Yeah, so I took these sustainability. I forgot the name specific, but it's like structures, sustainability structures, which was very interesting. We were looking at embodied carbon, so of what we do. So really understanding the impact of the structures we're building, which was very interesting. Um, which other classes have we taken that? Let me think. Um, Studio. I mean, the rest have been very focused in architecture.
Right.
Yes,
So,
yes.
do you feel that architects are paying way too much? I guess that's leading the witness. Uh, I feel that maybe architecture schools are paying a little too much attention to material science and building technology and ignoring things like psychology and sociology when it comes to architecture. Do you feel that that's true or not?
Absolutely. No, it is very true, and it's a topic that we've touched upon at Berkeley. Like, they are very aware of that, and we've taken classes like theory, where they really open up our eyes, to psychology and the human perspective. And actually, I mean, one of my studios was with Tatiana Bilbao, which was very human centered, a way different way of like approaching architecture. The problem is that I feel that once you change, like, if my second semester studio or like other classes, like, it just takes the back seat, right? So we're
Hmm.
really talking about it a lot and like reflecting upon it, but it's way different to actually act and make it work. When you're like doing your projects or when you're out there like working, it's just it doesn't happen. It's just very talked about in academia.
Yeah, and you need repetition in order to be able to integrate it with your process, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about urbanism? Berkeley is one of the top schools of urban um, design and development in the country. I believe it's number 3 or 4, ranked behind Columbia and MIT. Did you take any courses there? And if yes, how was that experience?
In urbanism, yes, I took this really great class called a housing or housing as the urban driver. I keep forgetting the names, but it
Yeah.
was all about like the way we can design housing. It was more focusing affordable housing, more like integrating into the urban context. It was very interesting. It wasn't like a studio, but like we still need to produce drawings, and it was just like looking at precedents. And it was interesting because you were looking at different types of precedents and then coming up with your own housing typology that spoke to the past while also integrating it with your ideas, which was a great way to like understand architecture, uh, I guess, like with a broader mind, no, not just like the building and like the site itself. Like,
Yeah.
that was like a very, very interesting course that I took.
Do
Mhm.
you feel that, so you entered Berkeley on advanced standing. Uh, do you feel that 2 years were enough to get the most out of your graduate education?
Um, a lot of times I wish I had gotten into the 3 years. I don't know if everyone would have the same experience as me, but at Parsons, it was very focused in hand drawing and hand modeling, and it was kind of like I always thought, in a sense, technology, which is a little stupid, but that technology was wasn't gonna look as good, or like the things that I was gonna produce weren't gonna be. Uh, as like they weren't gonna be as mine, if that makes sense. so i when I actually started using tech, like like digital programs, like my last year, and like I had to learn them kind of like on my own. Not saying that Parsons is a bad school, it's an incredible school, but like, so then coming into the 2 year, I'm already expected to have certain like knowledge of these programs, that is, and people come with really advanced knowledge. People have taken foundations in masters because they know that you're going to be using mostly digital. um so it has been really tough for me to like like go and like get really good at these programs. So I just wish I had a little bit more time to practice, that a little bit more time to really get into the correct workflow of things. So yeah, so I mean, sometimes I feel like I would have liked to have one more year.
So the issue for you is the lack of time to catch up on skill-based stuff
Hmm.
like software.
Yes, yes. When you go into the 2 year, you're expected to, just uh, just take everything in and like do it,
Right.
which makes sense. I mean, I can't do it because I did, I have some background in architecture, but it's just like tough.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So why did you choose the BFA? Were you unclear as to whether you were going to do art or architecture? Did you know you were always going to study architecture, or were you unclear? Why did you choose BFA for your undergrad?
I was unclear.
Uh,
I knew I wanted to do design. I didn't know in what. So Parsons was just yeah, it was the best option for me. I was actually going for industrial design. So yeah, I mean, it's nice that they give you, at Parsons the option to really explore different things. So I did everything from fashion design to graphic design, like fine arts. It was very nice, and I took one class. It was one class with an architect where we were doing some like paper studies, and she was the one that told me to really push me into the architecture direction. Hmm.
then when you decided to go to Virginia Tech, what was the rationale behind not going straight into uh, an MArch program?
um there were various things. Just I thought I really wanted to explore a little bit more like my interest in sustainability and how I could combine that with architecture, and maybe also I've always been interested in meeting different types of people that can teach me things, and I thought I would make the most out of my master's if I came already with a little bit more knowledge, because I know people come from everywhere and a lot of people don't just go straight into it. A lot of people, have work experience, and I didn't have work. Like, I wanted to bring something to the table, and I thought I would make the most out of my master education from doing that. Um
It's interesting how you entered Berkeley on advanced standing, even though you only had a BFA, you didn't have an
mhm,
architectural studies
yeah.
MA, a BA or something like that. Unless, was it an architectural studies concentration, your Parsons one?
No,
No, it was not.
no, no. The master in Virginia Tech
So,
was a regular master.
right. So how come they allowed you to go on to get in on advanced standing? Because of the Virginia Tech Masters, or how come?
That is, I also wonder.
Okay.
I'm also wondering, and I think it's because I did that year in Virginia Tech. Maybe it allowed me to replace some of the elective courses that Berkeley has that
I see.
could, like,
Because usually they don't, they're not gonna, if you need to take, whether you're gonna go on advanced standing or not depends on whether you've taken enough studio courses. So even if you have covered the electives, they're gonna require that you go from the beginning. So that's very interesting. But your
yeah.
choice to do it was based on what? Based on less cost, probably, right? You just wanted to be less costly.
Yes, yes. It
Avoid the
was,
whole
it was,
year of yeah.
it was less cost. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
how much did your education cost overall, like per year and overall?
Uh, I actually forgot the exact number.
You
I
don't
can
remember?
look it up, but yeah, I completely blanked out.
Uh-huh. Um, you don't remember at all, like
Uh,
the approximate? Yeah, because it's a major issue. So I always
I
like.
believe, yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe at the end it's like 60,000, which is still a lot of
Per
money
per what?
per year.
Per year.
Yes,
That's a lot of money.
yes,
Did you have financial aid or did you
yes.
go for?
Um, so Berkeley gave me a scholarship,
Mhm. Very good.
I didn't have to apply for it. It was just based on merit, like what I did for undergrad. So they gave me a scholarship, but I still needed to pay a little bit of money.
Mhm.
But they are very generous with scholarships.
And overall, you feel that coming out, you're comfortable with the money that you've paid to be able to either pay it back if it was a loan or to make up for it, to break even in a short period of time, considering the condition of the economy, the entry-based salaries and all that stuff. Do you feel that you're at a good spot?
Yeah, I think I'll be able to pay it back. I don't think it's, a crazy amount. I think, I mean, it will take some time, like obviously like architecture jobs, like I mean as an intern too, like they don't pay a lot. It's
Yeah.
like uh, I am very lucky that I have a really good job that pays me. It's 28, 27 the hour.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure I will
So
pay
that's
it back
56,000 per year. That's is that considered to be the like a like a good salary these days?
for internships. Yes,
Yeah, for internship. And when we
a
say
hundred percent.
right, right. So your experience at Berkeley as a student, right? Like Berkeley is obviously one of the best humanities schools, but it's also a great engineering school. It's probably the
Mhm.
like the it's my second favorite after my alma mater, MIT. So the question is, can you describe that experience, the day-to-day life at Berkeley, from living wherever you lived, to studying, to being in studio, and then in the commons? I'm just curious how that experience was, if you could describe it.
My experience living in Berkeley, it's really great. This is like a college town that isn't super small. You're close to San Francisco. Um, People here are super friendly. I have a lot of friends from different majors. Actually, like most of my friends are in engineering. Um, and is yeah, it's just really nice. There are many cafes around. You always like see people. It's easy to meet people from everywhere around the world. um and it's very different from, let's say, my experience in undergrad, because I was in the city, so in the city, um I was more forced to just basically talk to my studio, like classmates, because all of our buildings were all throughout like Manhattan. um so it was a different perspective. Here you're kind of like in this bubble where everyone is a student. Yeah.
As far as your aspirations for your career, are you afraid that um, are you concerned that your background in sustainability may typecast you and prevent you from being viewed as a person who can do work on many different types of projects? Do you feel that already, or not?
No,
No?
no. I think no, I think just like having a background in sustainability, I think is actually adding to my value. I think more and more we're seeing firms really interested and like actually requiring, like certain certificates in sustainability for their, even, for their projects. They want certain certificates, or and for the people that work with them. So I don't think it's an impediment whatsoever. It just adds to my value.
Yeah,
Um, I Yeah, absolutely. I think all firms should actually be thinking about how to incorporate sustainability. I don't think it's a concept. I
right.
think it's just something that needs to become, like regular practice. We all need to know about it.
Absolutely. Um, when you began applying for jobs, what was your approach when it came to presenting yourself? Meaning, of course, you have your BFA, then you have so your first master's from Virginia Tech in sustainability, and then your MArch. How did you present yourself as a, what was the approach in presenting yourself prior to the interview and then during the interview as well?
Yes. So what I did, I was interested in applying to firms that they seemed like they were interested in sustainability too, not just like throwing the word around when I was like looking for their bios, but like really, I think incorporating that also into their firm and into the way they like manage the firm, right? Because it's like a business. I wanted this business to be like a green business, yeah. So I found a couple of options, and those were the firms that I was like trying to apply to. I also thought I would look the most like my profile would look the most attractive to these type of firms. Um, and that's what I did. I also actually from LinkedIn was like a great resource. So I was like looking up these like firms that I was interested in, then looking up like maybe people that I could like talk to from LinkedIn, which was really helpful. It was super helpful for me to like make direct like a personal contact with people and like really get to know them and talk to them. That was very important into getting interviews and getting jobs, because it's very different to just send out your resume and your CV and your portfolio and people not really knowing who you are as a person. Like when they can put a face to you, it's much more valuable, because I think it acts an extra layer that you cannot get in writing. So that was basically my approach, looking at these firms that I was interested in, and then also looking at the people that work there, who I could make, get in touch with. Um, yeah, that was more or less how I did it.
Right. And as far as, let's call it your personal brand, did you present yourself as did you use the sustainability angle,
Mm-hmm.
or was it something else? Was it a kind of more composite identity that you used? What was it?
I think I did sustainability, but then also talking about like how to incorporate knowledge in different things, like kind of like system thinking. I think that's super important when I'm talking about myself and what I like. Yeah. So like it's like taking, like knowledge in different things or working with different people for all to like come together to design something that is really meaningful and it's like targeting bigger problems. So I think that's what I'm interested in, and I like to see architecture as like a tool to target things beyond just like aesthetics and space. Like I think it can do more. Obviously it cannot solve all the world's problems, but like that's what I like to think about.
Great. Um, so as far as job markets, Berkeley, of course, is in the West Coast, and compared to the East Coast, the West Coast does not have as many universities and definitely not as many major architecture schools. I was wondering, first of all, where is your current internship? Is it in San Francisco or is it somewhere else?
It's in San Francisco.
It's in San
Hmm.
Francisco. So do you feel that Berkeley gives you an edge, that it gives you a competitive advantage compared to other graduates in California, in the West Coast?
um I I would believe so. Berkeley's very well known for its architecture around here.
Right.
Eh, so, I mean, yes, 100%. Then also they are really helpful when it comes to like finding jobs. I actually found this job through, it was Berkeley sending out like opportunities. This was actually a Berkeley Prize internship that I got with
Mhm.
this firm. Um,
Can you talk more about the efforts that their career development office makes?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So every, I don't know, every week they would like, print out pamphlets with like different the names of different offices. They would do a lot of they would do career fairs, yes, in person, but then also online. They have like this website that is only for Berkeley students. So it's really nice. You can, get in touch like with, people from different firms that are like interested to join. So you can talk to a bunch of different people, and they do many of these like prizes, right? So, or fellowships. And this one, actually, the one that I got was from an email. So I was just reading my emails and like my news and daily things that they sent out, and that was like one of the opportunities that
And you just
get.
applied. It's an application
I
process is simple for the students, and it's limited to the student body, of course, right? It's not something more.
Yes, yes, yes. So from the website that Berkeley has, you have your. It has to be just. It's just Berkeley students. You sign in with your username, password, and then you do. Yeah, it's just like a common application, and then you're good to go. You put your portfolio, you upload it into the website, and you can, schedule times with like the firms you would like to know more about.
So, what other schools did you apply to when you were applying for your MArc other
I
than Berkeley?
applied, yes. I applied to Columbia. I applied to Parsons again. I applied to Virginia Tech. I applied to where else did I apply to? Reezy, Berkeley, and am I missing one? I think those are the ones that I applied to.
And Berkeley was at the top, along with Columbia, perhaps, or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
these are two very
Berkeley,
different types of schools, though. What was the rationale behind choosing Columbia? Was it just the name, or
Columbia, the name of Columbia. I had some teachers from Columbia at Parsons.
yeah,
Um, and then also I study abroad with
right?
Columbia
Uh-huh.
University. We went to Paris, so it was kind of like, and I had already visited the campus.
Okay.
And I had friends that I were studying there, so it wasn't very unknown. Like I know what they did, how they did it. Yeah,
Yeah. But you recognize that it was a very different approach in their
absolutely.
teaching and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Although
what?
when I went to their open house in Colombia, they were really they said, they were really talking about sustainability, and what I'm talking about, this interdisciplinary like field, which was really interesting to me. I don't know if like their maybe teaching methods have been changing, but it was like very appealing as well. um
The impression that I always get when I speak with someone from the two schools is that Berkeley allows more space for exploration in the students' terms, whereas Columbia kind of dictates those terms a little
mhm.
more specifically. Yes, there's exposure to sustainability, perhaps, but there's also like more of a stream of ideas that kind of takes you with it. Whereas I think Berkeley is more like of a pick and choose what you like. Do you agree with that? Or I guess I mean you haven't studied at Columbia, but do you agree on the Berkeley thing that it's more like it's almost like a store where you can pick and choose the type of thing that you like and kind of put it together and compose your education?
Sometimes
No, it's not.
I
Okay.
that's what I had been hearing all along, right? That is more like, you can explore and pick and choose. But that hasn't been completely my experiences. At least with studios, I feel like the studio I pick is basically I'm picking the style that I want to go for in that semester. Like, so even though, yeah, there is room for you to choose your concept, and like you can explore a bit. It's the style of the teacher a lot of times kind of like is dictated onto the work you produce, and you can see that from the various studios you take, right? You see the style, you see the teacher. which is different. Let's say at Parsons, it's a school that I can tell you gives you all the freedom you want. You know, teachers really work with you to help you develop your style. How do you want to represent these, like this, and that? But Berkeley, I don't feel is as free as, like I was led to believe, if that makes sense. Hmm.
Yeah, it does make sense, and there's a kind of a margin between reality and expectation, I guess, in many cases. Do you feel that a lot of your fellow students felt the same way, or was that just your personal experience?
No, a lot of my fellow students felt the same way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I, I hate it, but like sometimes like you're trying to like please the teacher in a way, right? And then also something that I had been talking with my classmates is that I used to do a lot of like like sketch models in undergrad, really quick like studies that aren't supposed to look beautiful, but they're part of the process. At Berkeley, something that I've seen is that they always want the like an end result, especially for models, right? So like if you do a model, like most of them look beautiful, like, and I don't like, that's not the way I do things. That's not the way I can think with
That's your
modeling.
that's very strange what you're describing. That's universal.
The pretty model
Well, the
at
idea that the idea that they're not fond of a process that includes sketch models, and they want you to have they want every model be well done and pretty as you described, as opposed to rough. Are you
you
is
know
that universal? Is that true about, or is it like a specific teacher that you have in mind, specific professor?
I've only taken two studios in at Berkeley. So the first one was with a visiting professor, which wasn't a Berkeley professor. It was with Tatiana Bilbao, and yeah, with them it was like it had to be done the way they do the work,
Yeah,
and it had to be done. It had to look really pretty.
that's very
And then
strange that you took only two studios though at Berkeley. So you mean to tell me that your entire architectural education is consists of two studios?
four.
But that's two at Berkeley, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I've only taken two studios at Berkeley for the MArch,
yeah,
but obviously I took the other studios in undergrad. I have two more to go.
right. What's your? You want to describe your studio culture, the studio culture at Berkeley? Meaning, I find that it's very interesting. But even though studio kind of pretty much is the same, you have a desk like a door. Do you guys use the door? Um, you have a desk with your stuff there, and you focus on your work. That based on the space and the culture of the school and everything, the studio culture differs enormously between school and school. I was curious if you can describe that studio culture. Maybe how does it differ from your undergraduate experience? Uh, and do you agree with it? Do you feel that that is that it's a good culture and it enhances your experience as a student?
Um, yeah. So studio culture has been very different from undergrad. Yeah, radically different. And I don't know if it's because of COVID that like just like
Oh,
change really changed the culture. Might be. Um, but then me coming as a second year, you need to think that I was coming in with people that was their first year in architecture while they were during COVID, right? Which means that they were used to, they didn't have the studio culture that I was used to in undergrad. Yeah. So like they were just in a screen, like working on projects with everyone like away. So when I came into my first year, second year in Berkeley, um it was just very different people. You would work a little bit in studio, but like a lot of the people would leave, right, and do stuff at home because now you have that. It's just easy to just do stuff online. People have I don't know, the platforms are more allow for these, you know, to be to happen. So
Yeah,
yeah, like we work a little bit in studio, but it's maybe of course during finals, like you see a lot more people, and maybe just the day before,
right,
or maybe 2 days before the final, that you really do see the people there like working, and you get that like
right. But
you get how it.
I find that the that architectural education, you get so much from your fellow students,
Mm-hmm,
uh, even more than the faculty there. You know, I feel that the student body is like your main educational source because you
yeah.
exchange ideas practically on the same subject, like in a single studio setting. When you have a project, you're going to have 10 different versions of them, and everybody thinks they're genius, and everybody thinks that
Mm-hmm,
theirs is the best. So they'll love to tell you why. So I think that experience, being in person all the time, you can't replace that with a Zoom. Regardless of how integrated it becomes, how constant it becomes, even if you're
mm-hmm.
constantly connected, it's just very hard, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's really hard, and I think um yeah, I mean, when we go to studio is like what, like maybe 4 hours. So in those hours, you try to get the most out of, like everyone being there, and like you ask questions. Everyone is very helpful. Like, it's not a is not a it is competitive, let's say, but in a good way. But it's like everyone is really helpful. Everyone will teach you what they know. So yeah, 100%, like being able to ask your friend, and like maybe get out of your head, because in studio you just get in your head, and like you cannot get out.
Right.
So that is really helpful. But yeah, absolutely, there are way more people that work away and don't come to studio at all. Like, it's just a thing. And I mean, I imagine from what I've talked to some of my friends, that study at Columbia, it is very similar. It was a similar experience, like working during COVID and then after COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not jealous of these guys that did their first year during COVID. That must have been horrible. To pay all that money and to lose that studio experience where you have the cohort and you kind of
Yes.
mingling and you go in there and you're having coffee and all that stuff. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of the deal, I think. What are your favorite courses at Berkeley? Aside aside of our architectural course, the standard kind of core courses. What are your favorite courses?
My favorite course is so theory. This
Okay.
theory course was just amazing. It's just the topics were super interesting. You were really learning architecture from different points of view, really opening your mind to all these like concepts, like how, I don't know, let's say how architecture leads to racism, and like some just like really crazy readings that get you thinking about like, what am I producing, right? Like, what am I doing? Like, what does this wall really do here? Like, it just brings your thinking to new levels, which was just truly amazing. Like, he's just questioning the way we render things, right? Like, what does this like type of rendering do to the viewer? What are you trying to get with it?
So that was a specific single course or a sequence of courses?
It was just one course, is one of the required ones, but it was very amazing.
Yeah. So
Uh,
what's the title of the course? Do you remember?
a architecture. Oh my God, I forgot. The
It's okay.
wait, architecture theory and criticism, I
Oh,
believe.
history,
Yes,
theory, and criticism. And
it was with
who was the professor?
Niran, Niran Turan.
Near and Turin. Okay. And is he or she your favorite professor?
She is amazing. Yeah. I would say one of my favorites, and she will for our thesis, she's the professor.
Oh, is that
So
right?
some lucky people get her to be their, like, guide in the thesis, which a lot of,
So she's
people
the
take. Yeah, a lot of people take the topics they've learned in theory and like this way of thinking very deep, into their thesis. So a lot of these like topics that we like go into, like people grab as like their points of interest to do more research.
right. What other faculty were very important to you in the time you were there?
Um, yes, I really, really like Rene Davis. He's a professor that has been teaching at Berkeley for a really long time. Everyone that I've known that has gone to Berkeley has been taught by him.
Mhm.
He's just like he's just a very helpful professor. He's the one that actually I took his housing. It's called housing as design generator. Okay.
Housing as design generator.
Yes, that's the name of the course I was talking about. So I
Okay.
took that class with him and I thought it was incredible. He's very into urban design and combining that with architecture. So that class was super good. And then I took his studio, which is mostly he's more digital. We did this studio was based on the Bauhaus. So it was
Based on the Bauhaus, how? Just the ideology of the Bauhaus, or are
the
you gonna just
ideology of the Bauhaus.
uh,
Then we were also, it was interesting because we were actually working in Dessau, where the Bauhaus is
oh, really?
actually
You guys went
located.
there?
We went there. It
How was
was
it?
a studio trip, super cool. We slept in the Bauhaus.
You slept in the Bauhaus. All right. Um,
Yeah,
comfortable, or did
very.
Gropius know what he was doing?
It was very comfortable.
um, as far as studio trips, how many was that the only studio trip you've taken, or any other ones? Any other ones that you didn't take but others did? You know.
Okay, so starting the first semester, we went to Seattle, which it was
Nice.
really cool. I believe it was like for maybe like a weekend. Very nice. It was everyone from the cohort went to Seattle. Then, then the second semester for the second years, it's a traveling studio. So my studio was gonna go to Germany. So we went to Berlin, Dessau, and like some people decided to travel like on their own, before going to Germany. Some other people picked they went to Portugal. This was another professor, and those were the major travels. There was another studio that didn't end up going to Hong Kong, but they were gonna go at the beginning. Maybe they had some,
Because of COVID,
maybe
they
COVID.
didn't.
Yeah, like I think that didn't allow them to go. Um, yeah, and then also Berkeley has some fellowships that you could get. So, and those are like traveling fellowships. And you come up with your budget and where you would like to travel based on your research,
Mhm.
and yeah, and the university funds the traveling.
Any competitions? For example, when I was at MIT, there was the Renzo Piano competition. You could submit some work, and you could participate. Whoever won would spend the summer working at Renzo Piano's workshop.
Mm.
Any similar types of internship-related competitions at fancy
At Berkeley.
offices? Yeah, sponsored by
Uh,
Berkeley.
yes, yes. We actually in this past studio, the Bauhaus one. The first it was kind of like we did a set of like a kind of like exercises, architecture exercises, and the first one was to design a pavilion. That pavilion that we designed was based on a competition. So we were submitting that we had the possibility to submit it into the competition if we wanted to. Um, which also forgot the name. The European Union. I forget all the names here. What was the name of this competition? Ah, I don't remember, but it was like, we had a set of requirements and things, we needed to get through with our designs.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
So what are your expectations for the rest of your education? What are you expecting to get out of it?
What do I expect to get out of it? I Yeah, so last semester I was taking more of the required courses, since I'm at 2 year, I need to it's more intense. Like I have a little bit less freedom than like people that go into the 3 years. They have more room to add like electives. I hope that next year I can maybe explore a little bit more things outside of architecture, really take advantage of the maybe overlapping some of my interest into the mix. And then I would love to, like get a little bit of what I've learned throughout my internship, at Howard. They've been a great firm, like, teaching me like their workflow and like different types of programs, like maybe going into and applying that into my work, and I would love to see like an improvement in like efficiency and like precision. I've been really trying to work on that, so we'll see how it
Efficiency,
goes.
efficiency and
But
precision. What about the poetics of architecture? What about that aspect of architecture, the pre-professional aspects of architecture?
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's a different, it's a different conversation, I guess. As far as your thesis, what are you thinking as far as constructing the subject of your thesis?
Oh, what am I thinking? It's too hard to say. I think it's too early to say. Um, I don't know. I've always been interested in, smart planning
Uh-huh.
and a yeah, like urban design, like a just
Like
I
intelligent cities, smart cities.
intelligent cities and how we can like maybe design the suburbs a little bit better.
Yeah,
I've always
yeah. It's
because
the definition of dumb
I
planning.
did live, yeah,
So, so how do you
I
turn
lived in
that into smart?
Virginia. Yeah, I lived in Virginia for a while,
Yeah.
and it, that really got me to compare, right? The way
Uh,
things are like designed
so you lived in the
at
you lived in a suburban setting. I mean,
suburban
Virginia,
setting.
but you
So I
didn't live
have
on campus at Virginia Tech. You lived outside. You lived off
No,
campus.
I did. It was online. Yes, because it was
Oh,
during COVID
uh-huh.
too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it
So
was
so
very small.
how come you moved to? I'm sorry. Where are you originally from? California, or where are you from? Forgive me.
I'm from Colombia.
I know you're from Colombia, but you're here. Is your family here now, or you're just an immigrant? You're here as an immigrant.
No, my mother and I, we moved to Virginia.
Oh, you moved to
Eh,
Virginia. Okay, so that's why
we
you
moved to
were in
Virginia
Virginia.
first.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
I
was
did
gonna
my
say, I
last year.
thought initially that you were a Californian, and I'm like, why didn't you go to California and do your online degree? But now it all comes together. Now it all
It
makes
all
sense.
comes together.
So
Yeah.
was the choice of Virginia Tech based on that initially, and then COVID hit, like meaning you wanted to be close to home? Is that the reason why you chose Virginia Tech for your second
Oh,
degree, for your
yes.
first master's?
It it absolutely, like it's one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
Like it was just a very tough time. I did want to do, like focus more in this sustainability aspect. And I knew, Virginia Tech was, it's just such a great architecture school, which, I was also thinking if I need some help with something in architecture, if I need to talk to maybe like faculty there, being and doing this master, if natural resources there will like, you know, allow me to, I guess, have like the point of view of these, faculty and like this school that I know it's really also really good in architecture. And then, being, yes, from Virginia, obviously, like Tyson, I would get like a discount, just for, being like a Virginia, how do you say, like, I guess I wasn't a resident then, but like,
A
yeah,
Virginian? Yeah,
being from Virginia,
right. A Virginian.
um,
Yeah,
Virginian. And yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, Virginia Tech, it was just like a very well-known school. It's just a very well-known school,
right, right.
yes.
What is
So I
your,
was also thinking about going there for school, for the master
oh, right, right, you were.
in architecture. Yeah, so I
You,
was
you
like
applied there. It's one of the schools
thinking
you applied.
ahead. Yeah, I also applied there.
Did you get into Parsons when you applied to architecture school?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why you didn't go to Parsons was that you wanted something different, or because Berkeley is better, or because it sounds like you preferred the way that studio work, the studio culture at Parsons to Berkeley. I'm just curious why you chose Berkeley over Parsons.
Why I chose Berkeley or Parsons. First, Parsons is very expensive. Yes, and it's,
Yes,
in Manhattan.
they don't give much money either, do they? Do
They,
they give
yeah, they actually didn't give me, yeah, they gave me less money than Berkeley.
I bet they did. And
Then
Manhattan is very expensive too.
Manhattan is very expensive. Why else didn't I go there? I think also Berkeley has it's more famous, has a name when it
Right.
comes to, like a architecture, and especially also if I want to get something abroad, right? Like you just say Berkeley and people know what you're talking
Right.
about. They know about the architecture school. Not to say that Parsons is like really great school, that I think it's catching up. Um and yeah, also to get a different perspective,
Sure.
to a different way of
Thinking of seeing
thinking.
things.
Yes, yes.
What does your mom think about your career? There are some parents who consider architecture to be kind of engineering light, like a diet engineering kind of, like
Yeah.
it's not a real career.
For the
It's
week.
kind of like, it's a little weak, you're probably going to starve, stuff like that. I've heard a lot of things like that. What did your mom think about you being, first of all, studying art as an undergraduate and then going to architecture?
Well, my mom was like the most supportive, she was actually the one that like got me into architecture, if
Really?
that makes sense. She had always wanted to do architecture herself, and she has always been very like artsy.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I got a lot of like my interests from her. Like I used to be in a lot of like art classes and stuff like that, and just seeing how much she enjoyed it, I think made me also really enjoy it in a way, Um, and so yeah, I mean, she was very supportive of anything that I wanted to do. I never, no, nobody ever told me anything bad about like going into architecture, or picking some design, something that it was design related. It was like all up to me.
Um, when you were applying, can you describe your the application process? How was it overall? It's usually a stressful process. Was it stressful for you, and why?
Applying to master.
For the MARC program, yeah.
Yeah, it was stressful, absolutely. You kind of like, I felt like
What
I
was the
need
most stressful thing about it?
the most
What,
stressful thing.
what aspect caused most stress? That's what I mean.
I think the portfolio, getting the portfolio to be what I wanted to show schools was the most, time consuming. like redoing and like I had to redo a lot of my things because I felt like what I had already like from my undergrad wasn't like gonna be good enough, when I applied to master.
Mhm.
So I needed to, now that I had like better skills, like I could like, get it up to like a higher level.
Yeah.
That's what took the most time. And then like maybe with the knowledge that I gained from the other master, like how I could tie that into my projects. So I had to rethink a lot of the things that I was putting in,
Right.
right? As I learned um how I could like incorporate it so that it looked like, you know, like a bath in a way.
Like it
Um
makes sense that
like it made sense
there's
that
an
what
identity
I
that you
did what I
build
did.
slowly, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, so could you describe, first of all, how many pieces did you put in your portfolio? How many individual projects did you put in your portfolio?
I put three big like studio projects, and then just like a few pages. It was like a few pages of things that I really liked from. It didn't have to be like a complete studio project, but it's just like maybe a model that I really loved,
Mhm.
or like some study models that I thought were really great. Like I would just pick and choose some things that I thought were really nice, and then I would pick the strongest projects to put in.
Right. And the projects the big projects that you put in, were they analytical? Did you analyze them? Did you go through the process of development, or did you just show the final product?
Mm, so I that's a good question. I did go through the process of, like how I got to where I got, but not in a way that like I had to rework the process, if that makes sense. Because
Mhm.
I know you should always take like, process pictures and, record your process, but in many of these, like especially the ones that I did earlier on, I didn't do good recording of my process. So I had to go back and like remember everything that I've done, like why did I get to this shape, how did I get to this shape, and then explain it. So I had to go back again and do it digital format or whatever to explain how I got somewhere, but it wasn't like, that I'm putting in, the original like process.
Yeah, it's called post-rationalizing. It's
There, there it is.
yeah,
I did that.
it's
Yes.
yeah, it's a standard process. They should teach a course in architect school on post-rationalizing.
Yes. Yes.
Make the thing first, and then come up with a process to justify how much money you're asking for.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like all the architects that eventually present you with a sketch where it all came out of,
Uh-huh.
the amazing sketch, the genius sketch. Um, and what else do I want to ask? As far as yes, we were talking about your portfolio. Um, right. So as far as Berkeley, um, what are the aspects of your education? What about Berkeley do you love the most, and what do you hate the most? You would like to see it changed?
Hmm. What about Berkeley? I love the most. Um, that's a good question. I think a lot of the teachers are just really great. I love the facilities. I think they have, I had never seen like our studios are really huge. We have access to, we have the biggest and most beautiful wood shop, laser cutters. There is like a lot of things that are available that I haven't seen in a lot of schools, and schools that pay more tuition. So that is really great to see. We have great resources to really get our like work done.
It's great when you have a public school because they have I mean, it depends on the school, but this is the crown jewel of California education. So I guess they get a lot of money
It's amazing. We have
from the state.
great. It's honestly great. I went to Colombia and I was surprised at like how bad their facility
No,
was.
it's terrible, terrible. I can't believe they haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah,
They even came out with the concept of the paperless studio, and I'm persuaded that that was an outcome of algorithm of how tiny the studio spaces are. You
that's
don't have,
crazy.
yeah, you walk into their studio and you literally have this little space in front of you and a computer, and it's ridiculous. You should have like 4 times that much space.
Yes,
So, so I guess
100%.
you guys have a lot of space there to hang
Yeah,
your models and yeah. So what do you
yeah.
hate about Berkeley?
Uh, what do I hate about Berkeley? Um, hmm. I think let me just think about it. I think the aspect that I touch upon, like the fact that I've seen that a lot of the models are just like, you know, final models. Like I would like to see a little bit more of the process of like just coming, out with something like a quick rough sketch
But
that
other than that, because I am persuaded that that's just a coincidence, maybe with one of your with a couple of your teachers.
you think.
But yeah, I can't believe that the entire school is against study models. So other than that, like tangible aspects of your education, what is something you would like to see changed, or things that you've observed? I don't know.
Hmm. I need to think about it.
Okay.
um
Is San Francisco a good place to study at? I mean, I guess Berkeley is not in San Francisco, but is it is the whole San Francisco, the metropolitan San Francisco area, a good place to be a student in, specifically for architecture?
I think so. Um I mean, I'm obviously not there in San Francisco. Being in Berkeley is like really nice. It's just like a student, town. And then
It's close
yeah,
by, right? It's right across. Am I wrong?
yeah, it's
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 right-
like it's like 20 minutes, but it depends on the traffic. It could be a little bit more. Yeah, I'm not a
yeah.
student there, but
It's like living. It's like
working.
going to school at in Harlem and saying
Yes.
Manhattan. It's kind of like same distance. The question
Yes,
is,
yes.
as far as bringing value to your architectural education, is San Francisco
Yeah.
a good place to be at?
Yeah, I think it's a good place. Like, you get like student discounts. It is still pretty expensive city to live in. But I've heard that the Bay here is better than in many other states. For architecture interns. Yeah, I think it's a good place to be. There's many things going on, many museums, like if you're interested in that, many buildings that you can go see. I mean, it's a place that I think if you like architecture and if you like art, like there's always something going on that you can go see, that you can go do, which is really great.
So overall assessment, good choice or bad choice? Do you recommend Berkeley to other people or not?
I think it's a good choice. I think it's a good choice. Like I'm comparing these. I mean, undergrad is very different, and I think I'm comparing Berkeley also to the experiences of many of my friends. So I have some friends at Yale, I have some friends at Columbia. Um, so from their experience and what they've told me, like I know that, yeah, Berkeley is like a really good school. Um, I think it was a good choice.